Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello and welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the personal science insight podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Aditi Kutty. Let's get on with the show. Lavinia, thank you so much for joining us on the Personal Science podcast today. Could I get you to say your full name just so that I don't mess it up? And also tell us a bit about what you do.
My name is Lavinia Popescu Nau, no, because it's a French last name. So I'm a psychologist, graduated in Spain, and at the moment I'm working in mental health with kids, with teenagers in a hospital.
Teenagers mainly.
Yeah.
Right. So what kind of work do you do with teenagers at the moment?
So I run groups for them, like therapeutic groups. Depends on what I want or what's in the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or what my
sure.
supervisor wants me to do, basically.
Essentially, yeah. And I guess we here, our topic is about personal science, or at least that's kind of our general podcast. How would you define personal science?
Science is focused on yourself, right? Development, personal development, um, and identifying like struggles you have or strengths. Um, something about that. Like look deep down um, and discover yourself, challenge yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a that's a relatively good way of looking at it. We'll talk a bit more about that later, but first, we want to get to know you. So I'm just going to shoot you some really quick questions, and just give us like either your favorite or the first thing that comes to your head, whatever works. So please share the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word book.
Um, Favorite book? It's called Happiness. I discovered it like when I was 20 years old. I was in a bad moment of my life and changed my life. So I recommend everybody. It's called Happiness, and um, I think the writer is Mathieu Ricard. He was a doctor in France and gave up that career to move to Tibet
Oh,
and to find his purpose in life. So as I say, this book like changed a little bit the perspective of my life and how I wanted to focus. So I would recommend to everybody that book.
are you comfortable talking about how it changed your life?
Of course, I think like when you grow up like a teenager or um, not knowing your struggles or your traumas from your childhood, um, you um, you don't know where to start, where to ask for help, or who to ask for help, or how comfortable you are to ask for help, right? And open up because vulnerability in our society is not very.
Not very attractive.
It's not right. So I was like at the library in my university, and I really wanted something, like personal development, personal growth. So I started like reading this book, and I used to be a little bit um, anxious about things. I guess like very negative about things that will happen around me. So I read that book, and I read many books in that period of time, to be honest. But that book like had like a good impact on me. His story, if like on adult changing his life and giving up on his career. He was a doctor, and just to just to move to Tibet and try something else and to bring him some peace. I think that's why impacted me the most, because I needed some peace in that moment, peace of mind.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's always really nice when a piece of media comes along at the exact right moment that you need it.
Yeah.
Speaking of pieces of media, what comes to mind when we say movie?
Oh, who knows me? They will know I will like answer this question with Forrest Gump. It's like my old
A
favorite
classic,
movie.
yeah, yeah. Oh, classic, a very good one.
Yeah.
What about podcast?
Um, I have one, but it's not in English, I guess. It's
Mhm.
called The Beauty Mail, and I learn a lot from that podcast. And whoever is bilingual and listening to this podcast, I recommend it 100%.
What language is it in
In Spanish.
originally? S- Spanish. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
What about a famous role model?
I don't have any.
You don't have any?
No.
What about an unfamous role model?
My mom.
Your mom. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to say like why I don't have any, because I think um, everybody, on social media or on TV, everybody looks perfect and they do always the good things and the perfect things. Do I believe that always happens? No. I don't even believe about myself I'm like the perfect role model or perfect positive always 100% 24/7. So no, nobody like famous that I saw on TV had an impact in my life. So
Right. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Um, yeah, sometimes celebrities, and people who are even just well known for kind of, winning a prize for their field of expertise or whatever, sometimes they have these narratives around them that can feel a bit unattainable and are not necessarily good for you when achieving your goals.
All right.
Yeah.
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 For me, everybody that does, it's like a kind person and a good person and does things for others, help others, um, has I appreciate their work and has like a value for me, but not necessarily I will follow their path, because everybody has their own path. So they should
Yeah.
work on that
Yeah, for
and
sure.
be themselves.
What about a course you've completed?
Recently, RQI. I work in a hospital, so I need to have that, right?
Oh,
um,
a pretty
psychology
important one, yeah.
wise, yeah. So psychology wise, I don't even remember. I think it was the last one I completed. It was how to identify um, psychosis in teenagers.
Mm, mm, okay. Um, cool. We have gotten to know you. Thank you very much for introducing yourself in that way. We might move on to kind of, I guess, the meat of the show at the moment, which is about personal science and specifically emotions, emotional development in young people, which is your area of expertise. But before, I guess, to start off a bit broadly, how would you define personal development?
Um, all right. So personal development is something that comes from asking yourself who you are, where you want to be in a few years or in a few months or weeks. Um, who you want to be. I think that should be like the first question for a personal development, healthy personal development. Who you want to be, career wise, professional wise, or personal. I want to be a good person. I want to be a peaceful person, positive person, or grateful person. So that's personal development for me. Balance those two and keep asking yourself always what you want from life, you know, progressing.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of do you feel is like the optimum time to be looking into the future and asking yourself who you want to be?
There was no time.
There's no
It's no
time.
time.
It's
I
just
think the
whatever works
society,
for you.
our like society right now is like quite lost. I don't know if you have like the same feeling, but we have all these tools around us and we don't know how to use them, right? If I look back and I see like my parents were born and they grew up like in Romania. That's like a communist country. They didn't have anything for no emotion related. You just have like to have your diploma and go to work, have a family, and this, and that's about it. No questions. Nobody will like pay attention to your questions, anyways, right? And I see now we have everything. I'm including myself because I'm still young. Um, we have everything, all the help that we need, and we still don't know where to start and how to do it, right? You can start even like with 14 years old and end with like 60. You can always like um or 70s. I don't want to have
Don't want to cut it off there. Yeah.
yes. Go ahead and do it 80s, 90s. um
Hundreds.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just start knowing yourself. I think we don't know ourselves. That's why we have so many struggles and these high rates of like suicide attempts or addictions. It's a big one of the biggest problems now in our society. It's because we want to follow some like society rules and we don't focus on ourselves.
Mhm.
Just start now. Now it's like the perfect moment to start for everybody.
Mhm. So I guess that kind of not really knowing where to start when it comes to developing yourself, that's kind of a challenge that a lot of people face, you feel?
Yes. Yeah. And I to be able to do that, I think the main ingredient, let's say, um, is to listen to others, right? I feel like when we listen to others, we listen to answer back, not to process what they have to say. And I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking like good role models that you have around you. When when they want to tell you something that you are struggling with, or some mistake you are making, or even like some positive things you are doing. Just process that, and mm, um, only then you are gonna start thinking about what you can do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that something that I often struggle is like I want to make so many changes all at once that like I don't know how to kind of make where to begin, one, but also how to make those incremental kind of changes in order to get where I want to be in every single one of those aspects. And it can be hard to prioritize. And I'm sure a lot of people kind of in their like 20s and 30s might be feeling the same way because everything is changing around them so quickly.
Yeah, and if you don't make any changes, or if you don't go to university, or you don't have a job, or
Mhm.
that looks bad. Nowadays, like that looks bad, and it's so wrong. Leave the people, they need their own time. And if for you
Mhm.
worked in 6 months to find out what you want to do, that doesn't mean for somebody else will work. Somebody will need like a year or two.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we need like to pause a little bit, to slow down in this like rush, because this rush is not bringing us anything. Nobody
Mhm.
says like, oh, by 30 you need to be like super successful, having a family, being able to travel around the world. Who says that? Who are these people? This is
Mhm.
in your mind.
Mhm.
Just let that be. Do your own things, and do it like slowly,
Mhm.
at your own
Yeah.
capacity. Not compare you with anybody.
Yeah. So kind of working at your own pace.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
How do kind of emotions affect this personal development?
Um, you can improve your emotions, obviously, you know, positively.
Mhm.
Knowing your emotions. When I was like a teenager, I knew like to be sad or happy. There wasn't
Yeah,
anything
in
between,
between. Yeah.
right? It
Or other
wasn't
than
work.
that, yeah.
Exactly. This is like when I go to work and my kids, I ask them like, "How was your day?" "Oh, good." "Good or bad?" That's the answer. Tell me something, something else. Were you like
Yeah.
motivated, discouraged, positive? Tell me something else. So knowing that all those emotions and feelings that we have around us and inside us um, is part of this personal development. It takes time, no,
Yeah, for sure.
it takes a lot of time. Um, it took me like, oh, I'm still working on it. So, but I remember when I was starting with this process. As I say before, I was like in my 20s, early
Mhm.
20s. Um, and when something clicked inside me, I think it was 25. I was 25, 26 years old, and I said,
Mm.
okay, I'm good now. I feel like good with myself. I'm proud of myself to becoming
Mhm.
this human being. So it's a long process,
Mm.
and it's a continuous process too. You never like stop learning. You always have like some challenges in your life that will make you be aware of things.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, something that I know kept getting repeated when I was kind of in like my early 20s and late teens is that your brain still develops till you're 25. And now I'm beyond 25 and I feel like my brain is still developing and I still have so much left to kind of understand about myself. Like, yeah, I'm probably in a better place than I was when I was 21, but at the same time, there's so much left to go for me, I feel. Like that process hasn't stopped.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And you will understand better when you reach your 40s what happened in your life when you were like in your 20s, you know? If I
Yeah.
look back now, I was like, oh, that's why I was acting like that, you know?
Hindsight is always 2020. Yeah.
Right?
Um, I guess, you talked about teenagers kind of seeing everything as black and white, and I definitely was that kind of teenager. I was very much like everything was doing amazing or everything was either totally awful. And it was usually to do with school because that was kind of the center of everything that was going on in my life as a teenager. How important is it to kind of be emotionally aware in the school setting? Does this kind of black and white view kind of how does it actually affect a teenager and their growth?
um, I think nobody in the world, or maybe somebody, ask themselves why we're not teaching emotions in school. We're like teaching chemistry and history and this. Why we're
Yeah.
not teaching like something like personal?
Mhm.
We will avoid like so much bullying and so much like aggressivity in schools.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like all and more when we are in this process of understanding life, what's
Mhm.
important in life, um, how school rules work, and how we build our relationships in school. Most our
Mhm.
friends are from school or from us
Yeah.
activities after school. So how important will be if we will know how to communicate and understand them emotionally wise? Because if we understand their emotions and we know where are they in that moment,
Mm.
we will be able to build healthy relationships.
Mhm.
Keep distance when somebody is aggressive or is frustrated. Give somebody time, but we need to work on that. We need to introduce this in schools. This is my
Mhm.
fight right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree so much. I like some of the things I went through, not just in high school, but also like in primary school, even kind of heading to that, especially 11, a 10, 11 age kind of mark. I don't know. I think high school works a little differently in the US. Where I'm at, it's kind of we start at 12 and then go on till we graduate. But it's kind of that age group, it's preteen age group where everything is like the world kind of revolves around you almost. Like you can't think of anything outside of your little bubble. It's really, really hard to be empathetic of other students in
Yes,
that
but nobody
situation.
like show us how to be empathetic neither. How we will like
Mhm.
learn that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. But
So
there's nothing in the school syllabus that teaches us how to be empathetic either. So,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that will be the first step to teach our like professionals
Hmm.
emotional intelligence so they
Hmm.
will be able to act to to be around those kids. I
Hmm.
remember like I was born in Romania and I was in school in Romania for from 7 years to 6 years to till 12, 13. And after that I moved to Spain and I continued to be in Spain until I graduate university. And I remember being in school in Romania, a very close-minded country. Um, as I say before, like people can be good or bad, and that's it. Those are two options, 50-50. You are happy or you are sad. You never talk about a problem that you have in school with your colleagues. Um, you basically they never talk about anything besides like what you have to study, right? And you don't have even that help. When I moved to Spain, things were so different. We had like people in school, psychologists, counselors, in case you had a problem to discuss that with them. Um, and we were like having a lot of problems, me and my sister, because we were like foreigners, new country, how you adapt to that. The language is not your first language. And I remember my mom being shocked, like, "Oh no, are we gonna go like to talk with somebody? No, 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 no. We keep our problems inside the house. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Problem that is not from the house. It's a
Yeah.
problem that is from the school, and that problem should like
Be
uh
dealt with in school. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we have all these professionals out there.
Mhm.
We have like to make them work, right? That's why they have a job. So things change when we moved to Spain, definitely. And
Yeah.
me and my sister, we express emotions more, and we understand somebody's emotions way more because the society was more open.
Yeah. There are definitely countries around the world. I certainly come from one that kind of tend to prioritize emotions and kind of emotional development less than things like, your traditional kind of success models or whatever, things like having a job or, for younger people, getting a degree, stuff like that. Like it tends is stuff like, how you're feeling and how you deal with other people tends to get left on the wayside. It's not as important. Um, so yeah, I can definitely relate to that. What kind of bringing it back to, I guess, students, why we already talked about empathy as kind of one of the biggest issues in like kind of facing and managing emotion, but what other difficulties might they have in that respect?
Oh, like empathy, self-esteem is one of the biggest one. That's why we have so many like addictions in this moment. And I see it like at work, right? Um, it's my first time working with teenagers, and the biggest problem is like self-esteem, um, and aggressive behavior. If you will know that, if you will understand why you are mad and what made you mad, you will stop there, and how to communicate. Like, I think I should like keep my distance from you because you are not a very good influence and me right now. Um, yeah, those three are like my biggest concerns and the things that I will work the most on, you know. And one thing, it's positive reinforcement. um when a kid, we always like point at the bad things we do, and myself
Yeah.
too, when I'm like,
Mhm.
when I make a mistake, oh, multiply that for 10.
Yep. Yep.
Because, oh, why you did that, you shouldn't did it. We are not perfect. If we don't make mistakes, we're not gonna learn.
Mm.
So um I was trying to say something else, I forgot.
I think either way, I can understand that, like, that kind of blaming yourself and being pessimistic. I don't know. It just feels like everyone I talk to has this problem. Do you feel like humans are just naturally inclined to just doing that, like blaming ourselves or like
I
finding
think that's
fault?
like based on our education, when we grow up,
Mm.
our parents like tell us and punish us
Mhm.
when we do something wrong. So we grow up with that and we assimilate punishment with bad things, with mistakes.
Mhm.
So we just carry over. I
Mm.
barely
Mm.
like remember when my parents told me like, "Oh, you did a good job," when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
They were just pointing like, "No, no, no, we're gonna learn from this and this." So
Yeah.
that's one thing we should change too. And
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to work with the kids, because they go to therapy and they talk with their therapist, and it's something that they always point, what did you do to bring you in a mental hospital, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what about what you have to fight for that, peace of mind?
Mhm. So it's about looking at kind of the situation a bit more positively and to kind of turning it into an opportunity to change things as opposed to focusing on what went wrong. Am I understanding
Yes.
correctly?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
an opportunity to discover something about yourself. Every mistake brings you a challenge. Challenge your mind, challenge to discover something. How you got to that situation. First of all, you have to know how you got there. What was your behavior?
Yeah.
And from there, pull your strengths, and work on that. Because all of us, we have that. It's not
Yeah.
necessary to blame ourselves like after years or after weeks still with that. Oh,
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Yeah,
Mhm.
what did you learn? let's
Right.
let's let's move forward.
Mhm.
But that's difficult for adults, imagine for kids.
Yeah, for sure. Um, how speaking of, it being difficult for kids, how do we teach emotions and all of these lessons effectively to children?
um there's like plenty of things. I mean, we can do like some worksheets, we can do like games. As I said before, we can like reinforce them positive positive positively.
Yeah,
Positively.
positively. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Positive reinforcement. Yeah.
My English is falling apart. uh, um we can open up to them and talk about our emotions. um we can because kids in like early ages, we are their models, the adults. So if they see the parents or siblings, um talking about things that happened during the day, how they felt about it, how they process things, they will take that because they are models. They imitate. They will think about it. So that would be like one of my biggest advice for everybody, to communicate about your feelings always. um, Feelings, emotions, struggles, always just take it out, because if not, if you keep it like inside you, is when we build our wall, we can't verbalize anything, and that will affect our mind. And this is why we have so many mental health problems nowadays, because we don't talk about things. We don't want to be vulnerable, you know?
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely like even in places where there's not a stigma, if you're not in an environment that's openly talking about even just something as simple as if they've had a bad day, why they've had a bad day, and exactly how they're feeling. If you're not in an environment like that, it becomes really hard to open up about something even worse that you might be going through.
Yeah. I remember like um that's why my mom is like my role model. my I was in my early 20s again. And I told my mom I always wanted to be a psychologist, help people and make like a positive impact in the society. I knew this from the beginning. I mean, I was like 10 years old or 12 years old.
Mhm.
And but I went like one day at home after university and I told my mom like I don't feel like motivated to go to school, and I find it like really strange because it's something that I really want to do and I enjoy doing
Mhm.
it, but I don't know what's going on. And my mom, that she never knew anything about emotions and motivation, told me like, why you are like 20 years old, why you put so much pressure on you? It's
Mm.
your second year. If you need like to take like less courses and do something else, enjoy yourself, enjoy a hobby that you have, just do what makes you happy. You don't have to do what, you know, that comes from a schedule, what everybody does, what your colleagues do. Oh, they pass all the exams of this now. Every year they have this. No, you just have like to slow down. You are not okay in this moment to be at the university. So why would you go that much? And I never expected, to be honest, this like answer from my mom, but I will always remember it because it's what I needed, that that validation of my emotions, validations of my feelings, and um, somebody to understand and be empathic with me,
Mhm.
and she learned that from me, and raising kids and being in another society, and I learned that from her. It's like a given and taker. So she gave me what I needed that in that moment. She validated my feelings
Mm.
and gave me like the strength and the peace of mind that I needed to take other decisions and to focus on
Mhm.
something else. And in that moment, I changed my path and I focus more on myself
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
being obsessed what society says.
It is really, really good advice, especially to hear in your early 20s. It's definitely advice I wish I had heard in that age, and it's advice that I now constantly pass on to people who are in that phase of their life. I feel like w even now, like, even people in high school are feeling the pressure, I think. Like, they have to get really, really high grades to get into a good university, and then do well at university so they can get a job. And I feel like that timeline doesn't really work as well as it used to maybe 20, 30 years ago. I think, and I think people are realizing that, and the kind of stress of all of that is also affecting our motivation and our ability to kind of go forward as well. Um, and we don't really have the tools to process any of that and how we feel about any of that, I think, which makes it even harder.
Yeah, because we put like so much pressure on us and we have this like stress, and
Mhm.
what comes from stress? There is no creativity. From
Yeah.
creativity comes everything. What I want to do, what I want to learn, where I want to start. This is like when you are balanced enough, you will click. You have something in mind.
Mhm.
Oh, years ago I wanted to do this. Why why I'm not trying it now that I have the time, you know?
Yeah.
But if we like have stress and only like bad things and we hear only bad things, you know, um, because there are like parents out there that say, "Oh, no, I had my expectations so high, and you are not here. You are down here." How like a kid will feel, you know, what that means. If I didn't pass my exam with an A or a 10, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't make me like less professional or less person, you know.
Mhm.
Be a good person and find what you really want to do and makes you happy, and you will be a good professional.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Um, I guess to taking all of that into account, we might move on to kind of a practice to help people develop these habits. What is a practice that you do either in your work with children or in your work with parents, or maybe yourself personally, to improve emotional development at those kind of early stages of life?
Um, I will start like saying how I start, all right?
Mhm.
Um, I start with gratitude, and my goal was every day to find three things that I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
And you will think, oh, easy. Do it every day. I challenge you to do it every day.
I have tried that. It is so hard. It is unbelievably hard to come up with things that I'm grateful for.
Right? And we always have this like mindset, oh, I need something big, you know. I want like to be grateful for something like extraordinary that happened during the day. You don't need that. You just have like to appreciate the little things. So this is how I started. And um I started with one because I couldn't find three, and the three they had like to be something really remarkable. Um And after that, I needed something else to bring peace to my spirit. And I started with yoga and meditation. And because that worked for me, I believed maybe it will work for the kid, for with some of the kids, right? We're not the same, so maybe some of them won't work. So now at work, I'm doing gratitude and yoga. And at the end of our yoga session, we talk about positive affirmations about ourselves or about somebody around us. So that's one practice that helped me. I'm introducing it in a mental health setting, and the feedback so far is pretty good. So I recommend everybody to try it, at least to try it.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you feel like that kind of act of, yoga or meditation and then kind of positive affirmations, what's the logic behind the order of that? What do you feel is the benefit of kind of putting them together in that way?
First of all, because yoga brings you peace. You know, the music, the connection with your body, right? Your balance. So I never like thought about why I put it together. For me, just clicked together
Right. Yeah.
because it was for me a struggle, like to find, and for them. And I see like more struggles for men, for boys to find something to be grateful for than for
Mhm.
the girls. So because it was for me when I was young, I believed I will try it for them too in the same order.
Right, right. So it's kind of just what worked for you.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes I change it. I'm not like very strict with the, depends on how the day works. And if I see like them more unsettled than the day before, I will just start with the yoga and I will do gratitude and positive affirmation at the end. Depends on how it goes,
Mhm.
how I feel them.
Yeah. What are kind of three good things that you found about this practice of yoga and then the positive affirmations?
Um,
Or whichever order they want to do it in.
the positive things, oh, the good thing, it was like at the end of every session, they tell me how they feel. So this is what I wanted from them, to express emotions, right? I asked them like how they were feeling before and how they are feeling now, you know. Um, the another thing is when I'm not doing it at work, because I'm not doing it like um, always every day, they miss it. So that means it was an impact on them, something that works well. And the third, um, just to see them peaceful, you know, calm, because they deserve that. Because they have so many things going on in their mind. Just seeing them, that brings me so much happiness.
Yeah, that's really wonderful, especially like when you're working with people and to see them alleviated from their
Yes.
problems, even
Yeah,
just for a little while.
that's a good
Um,
word, alleviated.
yeah. I do want to know, like, how do we go about making these affirmations? Like, what do I have to say to myself? Let's just say I've completed or a session of yoga. What would you encourage me to say or think about in order to go about that?
About like a positive affirmation about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell you?
What would I like to tell myself?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I guess that I'm doing better than I think.
And what?
Maybe.
What?
Like at what?
Yeah.
I in general, I think just handling everything. I've got a lot to handle right now, so I guess handling everything that I have to and managing it. I think I'm doing a little better than I think at all of them.
So you are
Uh,
proud of yourself for managing few things at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah, yeah.
So that will be one. I'm proud of
Okay.
myself to reach this level.
Right, right. So it's like complimenting yourself,
Yes,
essentially.
positive affirmation. I can say like, um, I had a struggle this morning, or I had a conflict,
Mhm.
a confrontation
Mhm.
this morning, and or a stressful moment at work. And you, at the end of the day, uh, you like to be compassionate with yourself, you know, just give yourself a little bit of relief. So I would say I'm happy you could uh, handle it well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like so I guess sorry, I'm trying to paint a picture here in a way that makes sense to me. Um, so like I guess the person you're working with kind of compliments themselves and you kind of help add on to that by being like an external voice to
Yes,
kind of
because at the beginning
reinforce.
they will tell you like, "Oh, I'm smart, I'm funny." Okay, all this, and they will
Yeah.
you do like 3 days at work, and you do the same. They will say, "I'm humorous, I'm intelligent," or I'm, something like that. It's like, okay, you
It's just
say that
finding synonyms in
before,
thesaurus.com. Yeah.
yeah. So they are smarter, they are smarter than me sometimes. I go, okay, you say that before. Let's move on. Something that you did today, and they get, oh, hold on, you know. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure you did something good today. I'm pretty sure more than one thing. You just have like to find it and
Yeah.
to realize that and to put that in your mind. Because if we tell our brain every day we are doing something good, but sometime we will change that vision, that
Mhm.
habit or being
Mhm.
so harsh on ourselves. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to do, because human beings, they are
Right.
so harsh, man. They're always, oh,
Yeah,
how
I
bad,
feel
how bad,
that.
how bad. What about
I
how
do
good?
feel that. Yeah, I get that. I guess kind of going off of, people being far too harsh on themselves. Um, what are the challenges that you find, either when you're doing this practice or you find other people when they're kind of doing it?
Um, with the boys, it was a challenge to find something to be grateful for.
Mhm.
And the session is like an hour. Took me
Mhm.
like 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
to
Yeah.
process something because they were saying like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I had
Mhm.
like to go one by one to tell them what's my opinion, what they are doing well, you know, or how I perceive them. And sometimes I was, everybody's a good person here, but I was pointed like, you have a big heart, you are very kind, you are very respectful. And they will be surprised because I was telling them that.
Mhm.
Not because
Mhm.
you are in a mental health, hospital that makes you less than another person.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
that's so wrong. And maybe that's why
Yeah.
people they don't go to therapists, that no. We all have problems and that doesn't make you less. But that was like
Mhm.
one of my biggest challenges because I was surprised. The girls they reacted like pretty well, pretty decent, manageable. But the boys no. And I think it's
Mhm.
because um, society wants men to be a man, like a strong
Yeah.
identity, and to
Mhm.
share emotion, feelings. It's like, are you weak? What's wrong with you?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's so wrong. We should like go a step ahead with that mentality. And this,
Mhm.
2022. No,
Yeah. Yeah. And
what
I'm sure,
like no, we have to balance like those like big difference between woman and man. They
yeah, of
have their
course.
feelings.
And I'm sure because of kind of like th- the way they feel surprised when you compliment them, probably because they haven't really heard that in their own kind of outside life. They might not have heard it from anyone else because it's that, again, that masculinity. Like, you don't need the compliments, you don't actually need to hear it. You're supposed to have this inbuilt confidence and just carry on with life like that.
And how will have it if nobody like show you to have it?
Exactly.
We're like
Yeah.
expecting like from these kids to have like high self-esteem because oh you can buy the best clothes, you can have like
Mhm.
everything in the world. But self-esteem is not about like what you carry outside. It's what you have inside and what you build inside.
Mhm.
This is what we are missing nowadays. We are like showing all these like perfect lives in social media that it's it's not
Yeah.
an example for anybody because
Mhm.
maybe those like role models that you believe they are because they have like awesome vacation and cars and everything, they're broken hearts,
Mhm.
or broken puppets, depending how you want to call it. No, we have like to focus in something else, in inside. This is like the hardest work, inside.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Um, how often do you recommend this practice?
Gratitude, I recommend it every day, and positive affirmation every day. Just
Mhm.
if you don't want like to look in the mirror and tell yourself why you are proud or why you feel good with yourself today, you don't have to act weird. You just
Yeah.
have to just talk with you for like 5 minutes a day, at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day.
Mhm.
How you start the day, how is your attitude in that moment, that will like make your day. This is how you are gonna front things during the day. I tell the kids and I tell everybody, it's like life depends on your attitude. If you are gonna sit down and complain about something, everything will go wrong. Everything,
Mhm.
the smallest
Mhm.
things too. But if you like challenge you and challenge your brain to think different, things will go different.
Mhm.
So gratitude and positive affirmations, I will recommend everybody to do it every day. I do gratitude during the night and positive affirmation at the beginning of the day, or
Mhm.
I change them, but usually I do it like that. And
Mhm.
yoga or meditation or mindfulness, um, just try like 3 weeks. Start with like three times a week, or just start it once a week to
Mhm.
see how you feel about it, and be
Mhm.
flexible to try new things. Maybe
Mhm.
yoga works for me, but won't work for you. Don't worry about it. You will find something that will work for you.
Yeah, just anything that kind of gets you into that state of peace and
Exactly.
balance.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
like to paint or I don't know, to make sudokus. Just find that.
Yeah, yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
Um, how do you think this practice kind of impacts your personal development and your kind of perception in life?
um, because brings me peace.
Mhm,
So when I have like my mind clear, I can take better decision. I can like see things differently.
mhm.
I feel like balanced, right? And we can like keep this balance always. We always like fluctuate. We go
Yeah.
up and down, up and down. But if I'm like down, I
Mhm.
yoga like helps me. Yoga and my dog helps me like be here so I can like take decisions.
Yeah,
We have like
yeah.
a positive attitude. This is like what is like what's my goal? It's my goal like for the past years. Have a positive attitude to everything.
Mhm.
The only thing that we can change is when we die, right? Anything
Mhm.
else has a solution. For bad
Yeah,
moments, smart solutions.
yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that about the pet as well. That's a huge mood booster. Just a little cuddle with, um, uh, my dog, especially after a very long day, is like enough to kind of just get me settled and help me forget about things for a little while. So I do feel that.
You're right.
Um, how would you recommend this practice to everyone? I know you work with teenagers a lot. Would you recommend it to people of like all ages?
um, I would like recommend it to everybody. It's just like I don't know at certain age how flexible you can be,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah,
start
of
that,
course.
but
Yeah.
maybe you can start with like meditation or mindfulness
Mhm.
if you are open to. Mindfulness is like a big thing right now, so everybody should try it. Just give it a try. And if you like it, I'm pretty sure there is like some practices for old people, for yoga.
Mhm.
So, but definitely for everybody, I would recommend gratitude and positive affirmation for everybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
Doesn't
Mhm.
matter the age, that doesn't matter anything. So, yeah, that would be like my advice. Just give it a try. Always be open minded to try
Right.
good things.
Yeah.
Good things.
And you mentioned, I think earlier as well, that some people kind of they meditate through painting or Sudoku, and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So I'm sure that's like, if for whatever reason, sitting quietly in one spot for about 5 minutes doesn't end up being your thing, I guess there's always those other options as well.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just have like to find their thing. My
Mhm.
neighbor told me yesterday that for her it's gardening. So
Mhm.
if she like likes to do that, just do it.
Mhm.
If that relaxes you and brings you peace and balance at the end of the day or at the beginning, whenever you need,
Whenever, yeah.
just um, take that tool. Use that tool that you have
Mm.
and you are aware of it. If that like helps you to see things clear, just like do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Gardening can definitely be very meditative. I think a lot of people are, especially since the pandemic, have been relying on plants a lot.
Yeah.
And
Cooking.
like the act of caring for cooking too, yeah, making bread, things like that. Based on your experience, do you have any other kind of like practices or habits that people can combine with this particular one? I know this is already a combination of multiple, but are there kind of others that you would recommend alongside it?
um so I always like work before the teenagers. I work with adults, always in mental health. I'm very passionate about it. So I kind of use the same, I guess. With adults I use more like positive psychology. So I was like trying to discover their strengths, We have 24 strengths out there. And we have some of them, they are ours, and some of them we just have like to work on it. So with adults, I work on that. With that, I would recommend everybody like to discover their strength. There is a free questionnaire about it on the internet. Um, Everybody can access it. For kids, it's a little bit more complicated because I don't think they are like they're not there yet.
Right. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talk about strength, but it's not easy for them to understand how they can use that. So for adults, just discover that, or just go to like courses for personal development. I went to a few of them. I went like to courses for how to be like a good professional. How to have like a good attitude at work, and they were using emotional intelligence for that. So, or just like go to some courses to discover yourself. And it's a challenging thing. You're going to discover some things that you're not going to like, or you thought you got this, you control that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you didn't, because we used to think um, very well about ourselves, Oh, I'm emotionally intelligent, 100%. I am not.
Yeah.
I'm not. And it's fine. I still have to learn a lot. So I I understand, like, for adults in general, it's like more scary, those things, to discover something about you, because you have like to open few drawers of like traumas or something that block your mind at that moment or affect your emotions and how you or your behavior, um but to be a healthy human being, mentally healthy, um we need to work on that. Take it like step by step. Stop when you need to stop, but you need to work on that, because people that they want like to have a family, to have kids and everything, they need to be ready, and to um, heal themselves before teaching somebody.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure.
So
You
we
don't
all
want to impart your own trauma onto your child
exactly,
unknowingly.
because
Yeah.
if not, these are like patterns. My parents didn't work on that. I'm carrying that. So somebody has to go to a therapist at some point, Like
Yeah.
we're like
Yeah.
3 generations with the same thing. No, that has like to
Yeah.
end. So
Yeah.
and be mindful about it. It's absolutely fine to go like to a psychologist or therapist. uh, it's absolutely fine to access like professionals because you don't know how to communicate with your partner, or you don't know how to manage stress at work. That's why they are for. You are going like to the doctor when your bones hurt, or I don't know, you are losing hair
Yeah.
because of stress.
You're not getting your partner or your family to like set that bone back into place when it's broken. Yeah.
Exactly. So use a professional to heal yourself. That's why they are for. It's no embarrassing. I don't know why it's still like a taboo, and it's something that we should like be weird about, like, oh, I'm going to see a therapist. And what? Everybody should go. Everybody, even the therapist should go to a therapist. You know?
Yeah.
Serious. I'm like very serious about this, even if I'm
Yeah.
losing my humor. But
No, I agree with you. I don't see any reason why therapists should not also go to therapy because I mean you're dealing with everyone else's problems. You're gonna have to
yeah.
unload it somewhere.
And
So
usually
yeah.
we I used to think like as a balanced person that I am right now. I wasn't during a pandemic. I wasn't. So I go to therapy, or I went to therapy, or I saw like some professionals, because people that didn't deal with their traumas or their struggle impact my life, you know?
Mhm.
And because they didn't deal and they didn't go to see any professional,
Mhm.
it made me struggle communicating with them, behaving around them, understanding them. So everybody should be open with that,
Mhm.
and more
Mhm.
new generations.
Mhm. Yeah, it's about being comfortable enough to do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess now we might move on to like our open mic section where you can talk about anything that you're passionate about, and it doesn't have to be relevant to the topic, but it's over to you. It's totally up to you.
Can talk about my dog.
Yes, tell me about your dog.
So I'm gonna say the story of my dog. Um, so I moved to the US 2 years and a half ago. This is the first time I'm gonna vocalize it like in public. My family knows about it, but this is something that I'm gonna say. Um, and I was struggling to adjust to the society here. I'm European. We have like another like mindset, very open, very social people. Um, and here it's for me was difficult,
Mhm.
and more during
Especially
the
Chicago is a big city, so like it can feel even more isolated. Yeah.
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 You meet people, you never click with them. Why? If I'm like a social person, right? Why I'm not clicking? Why I'm never like I'm meeting like 20 random people and none of them I'm clicking with them.
Mhm.
So winters are very harsh here. A pandemic hit, the whole world. That didn't help neither. So,
No.
but I was still like doing my yoga, keeping positive, planning, studying online, this, doing,
Mhm.
and because the winters were really hard here, I wasn't like leaving the house at all in
Mhm.
days, and that's
Mhm.
weird for me. you know I used to have a hobby when I was younger, that I would like to go and observe people's behavior, and in different um, settings. Anyways, so I wasn't leaving my house, and I thought I need somebody to create me a routine, because looks like I'm not able to do it by myself, and to follow that. So this is how Poofy came to my life. He's an emotional support dog. He's doing a great job digging holes and like chewing on stuff, and jumping on people.
What breed is he?
He's a golden retriever, but he's the white
Oh,
one.
yep, yep, yep.
He's
The
my
perfect emotional support dog.
yes, my snowflake. That's why he's white, to remember me to the winters. And I'm for real right now. Since then, my life just changed. Just
Mhm.
every day, I was going out 3 times a day. He was taking me for walks. Not
Yeah.
me, him. He
Yeah.
was inviting me for walks and remind me. He keeps me active. He brings me so much happiness. And even if I have like tough days at work, I always tell the kids, my dog, I don't know how he does it, jumps on me, licks my face a little bit, and I forget about everything that I had today.
Yeah.
So that's my experience with my dog. I always have
I
that,
love
but
that.
Poofy's
I love that so much. I love that so much. I think it's always good to have I mean, you speak about routine, and that's so important, and, like, getting a dog, I've experienced that too. So, so beneficial, and kind of making sure that, because 'cause you've got, like, even if you I mean, I'm not a parent, and I don't know if I will be anytime soon, but, um it's kind of just having another thing to be responsible for, especially since I don't know what stage of life your children are at, But like once they're kind of older and a bit more independent and doing their own thing, it's like having a little baby in the house, I suppose.
Exactly, right? And I had a cat, but the cat was like sleeping
The
all
cat's
day.
more like a teenager as well.
Yeah, it didn't help at all, like a
Yeah.
lazy teenager. So, yeah, the dog was definitely an improvement in my
Mm.
life, and it's my, as I say, it's my emotional support every single day. I like wake up and I was like, routine is so important, and more for teenagers. With
Mhm.
every parent that I talk, that they focus in like their education, the kids' education, and more emotionally, they
Mhm.
say how important is to have a routine too. A kid has
Mhm.
to be like busy always,
Mhm.
most of the time, to be busy so he doesn't get in trouble. Um, so I was always like a routine girl. I like my routine. I like to do my stuff, my tea at night, my books. Always. You get like a pandemic hits and changes your life, and you don't have any kind of routine because you don't have any kind of activity, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, and the only activity you have is at home. It's like,
Mhm.
oh no, that was so hard for me. Plus, adjusting to this country, that is so
Yeah, for
challenging.
sure. Yeah.
So, um, I like to talk about my dog.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really glad you did. Dog stories are always, always welcome on the podcast. So,
Thank you.
love to hear about it. And thank you so much for sharing that as well. I'm sure our listeners are now going to go consider getting a dog of their own if they don't have one already.
Yeah.
Or if they have one, they're probably just nodding and going, "Yes, yes, I
Yes.
understand. I know exactly what you're
Exactly.
talking about." So we've got just to wrap up, we've got some questions from our audience. And
Okay.
I'm going to pose them to you. And some of these are really, really good. So I'm excited to hear what you think.
Hopefully, I know
Um,
the answer. Hold on.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be
All right.
fine. Um, I think this is a really good one. Should parents and teachers be using the same approach in teaching children about emotion?
Should like parents?
Yeah, so should parents and teachers be using the same approach in
No,
teaching emotions? No.
no, because parents is like more personal, and it's
Mhm.
like different setting. What like the teacher sees in school is not the same like parents see at home.
Mhm.
How you interact with your siblings is not gonna be the same like how you interact with your buddies at school.
Of course, yeah.
So no, and
No.
teachers should approach it like more a professional way, always.
Yeah. Yeah.
And parents is like it's more personal, more
Mhm.
what they live and what they experiment together in the moments as a family can be an
Mhm.
example. And at the end, the parent is an example for the kid. So what they see
Yeah.
is what they are gonna do.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the teacher in schools have like only so much guidance that they can give and only between those hours of the day, so it kind of has to be different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Kind of going off of that, why is it particularly important to teach children about emotions in school? Um, and what would the school contribute that a house setting wouldn't?
Okay, so how many problems we have at school? You
A
know,
lot.
when we are kids, how many hours we spend at school?
Mhm.
Because we come
Mhm.
home, do our homework, interact a little bit with the parents, and we go to sleep. Most
Mhm.
of our time, and in when you are an adult, you spend more time at work than at home. With kids,
Mhm.
happens the same. They spend more time at school than at home sometimes. So why is so important? Because um, kids will know from early ages how to build relationships in a
Mhm.
social setup, you know,
Mhm.
At home is different, but and that will avoid like bullying at school. There are like different researches that they prove if we teach emotions in school and to talk, express, and understand emotions, that will avoid that much bullying and aggressivity at
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
So that's the main reason is I want to introduce that because I want the kids to be able to know how to talk with a kid that is having a bad moment in their lives. There is a very
Mhm.
good video about it because Japan, I think, it's one of the countries that teach that in their schools.
Okay.
And there is a video
Yeah.
on YouTube that it's a kid that comes and say like, my grandma just passed away, grandma or grandpa,
Mhm.
um, and they are teaching them how to be empathic, how to be compassionate, how to
Mhm.
talk with that
Mhm.
person, how to give that person space, how to um, be around him. That don't force him to do things or to act like everything is normal after that
Mhm.
traumatic event at the end.
Mhm.
So that's the main reason why we need to teach that in school.
Mhm.
Personal development and this as a part of a personal development, it's very important as it is history, science, math, and everything. At the
Yeah.
end, we are human beings, and how we treat others will talk more about us than what we know.
Yeah, and it's about making those what we learn about emotions just as important as what we learn about science.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm. What age is it appropriate to teach children about emotions and understanding how to process them?
Um, you can start like really early with games because when kids are more hyper, games is a very good way to do it. Um, there is now like few games of cards, and they play little games. It's called like personality game or don't remember the name very well. Um, but I don't know to tell you like an age, 6 years, 5 years, when they
Mhm.
are developing
Yeah.
capacity to understand.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty young, but I guess that would set them up for life,
Oh
essentially.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, avoiding all the bullying, as long as they kind of taught that
yeah.
from a really young age.
It's how much bullying is in school. I was bullied too. I mean, I'm not like
Mm.
the one the special one that didn't. No, I was bullied too. And
Mhm.
at that point when that happened to me, I was able to vocalize it with my mom, and she took care of it. But some kids they don't do that, because at
Yeah.
home nobody taught them to do it.
Mhm.
So they keep it inside, and we have this like suicidal rates, high suicidal rates in like teenagers, and that it's going up, 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 and more in male community.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, what tools and media are best to teach children about emotions?
What Jules you say?
What tools
Oh,
and
tools.
media? Yeah. I know we've already discussed some of those tools in the form of the practice discussion that we've had. So maybe like some media that can kind of teach children.
What do you refer like by media?
I guess, I don't know, like a TV show or a movie, a
Oh,
book, stuff like that.
there is a movie in Inside Out. It's called.
Ah, yeah. Yep. A great movie. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
that I use it for my kid, for my teenagers. I don't know why
Right,
I keep
right.
calling them kids. They're teenagers. um, um, that's like a good one. Um, I would encourage everybody to get the cards, the emotional intelligence cards. Like some um, I would like recommend even like the board games that um you make strategies and everything, and you lose, to see how they can control frustration,
Okay.
or to
Yeah.
see how is their level of frustration. To see that
Mm-hmm.
in your kids, that will be a good idea. Um, there are plenty of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
Worksheets for teenagers, they are like, or books, you can, and I think it's very important when the person that is trying to teach emotional intelligence to kids, teenagers, um, to be involved in that,
Mm-hmm.
to be part of that exercise, so they feel that bond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know now. Now it doesn't come anything like to my mind. I have a very good book if you want like everybody to read it. It's called
Okay, yeah.
Six Steps to an Emotional Intelligence Teenager.
Okay.
So every parent that wants or every professional, just read this book and you'll find out tools.
To
Um,
help with that.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, making plans
Um,
for them and setting goals.
the final question is kind of two questions that are very similar. So I might just combine them into one.
Okay.
How do we introduce emotion to children with autism?
Wow, that's a good question.
Mm,
I'm gonna be honest, it's not one of my fields.
right. Yeah.
So I am so sorry I can't like answer to that.
That's okay.
Better
No,
that
that's
you
totally
don't
fine.
say something stupid. So
Yeah.
it's not, I don't have like the proper information and the proper
Right.
knowledge to speak.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's better not to say anything than to give incorrect information, especially
yeah,
when it comes
yeah.
to
So
disorders like that.
just
So I totally understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
my kids are like um um I didn't mention some of the disorders that day, but there's like a lot of PTSD and defiant
Mhm.
depressive disorders and schizophrenia, psychosis, kind of.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So my
Well, the other question is about, well, something that is kind of relevant, I suppose, to it, is, um, children usually learn from their surroundings, especially when it comes to emotional management. So there's two sides to this question. One is how do we teach children who might have a mental health issue? And the other is um, how do we teach children how to express their emotions appropriately when we are suffering from mental illness? Which I'm sure is a big issue for a lot of new parents out there.
Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't
Yeah.
teach anything if you are not stable enough, first of
Mhm,
all.
mhm,
You
mhm,
need like to take care of yourself and after
mhm,
that be able to work with your kid. That's
mhm,
like biggest advice. Don't force something that you are not able to do it for yourself. That's
mhm.
why like a lot of professionals that they are out there shouldn't be teaching anything because they have to take care of themselves
Right. Yeah.
to work with, to work in mental health, or I don't
Mhm.
know, to be a good teacher, or um because there are like some professionals and I'm aware of them, they're not doing a very good job. um First question was,
The first question was how do you manage that with children who are suffering from mental health issues themselves?
okay. Mental health like disorders, that doesn't mean the kid doesn't have the capacity to understand that. So
Mhm,
that's one thing. uh, it's not a disability, you know
mhm,
they just like have to work on like specific traumas that they have, but they have this capacity to understand emotions at very slow, pace. So i I recommend everybody to don't feel like limited because they have a mental health disorder. Not at all.
mhm,
You just
mhm,
like take, and you will see it. You can try something, and if they don't they don't understand, or they don't react well, or the feedback is not the one that you are expecting, you try something else. But these people, they have the capacity to work on that.
Yeah.
I'm working with them, like with we have like worksheets for empathy or self-esteem, um,
Mhm.
gratitude, whatever we like mentioned before. Some of them, they understand the question, some of them not, but that doesn't mean they don't know how to access that, you know,
Mhm.
inside, from inside. So it just requires more patience and more time for the difficult, patients, but
Yeah.
not more than that.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
was one thing I want to mention is, like, when I was working with adults, they had like severe mental health, so they were like having this disorder for the longest time, and they spent like years in mental hospital. So everybody thought like, oh, it's not gonna work. Come on, let's teach them like art, music therapy and something like that. No, why? Just give it a try. You always have to try things to know how
Whether
they
it's
will
gonna
react,
work.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tried, didn't work all of what I was planning to do, but some of them it worked, and it had like a good impact on them. So I'm happy with that.
Mhm.
I did a good job.
Yeah, definitely. All right. That wraps up our audience questions. And also the
Thank you,
show.
everybody.
Thank you so much for joining our show and sharing all of your experiences with us. This has been really, really insightful, even just for me,
Thank you
listening
for
to
the
you.
invitation. I'm like very honored to be here and to talk about my passion, my my experience with mental health, and
I
my battle to introduce emotions in in schools, or to
Yeah.
do something like big about it, and to be more
Yeah.
aware of it. So we need
Well,
that.
I wish you all the best of luck, because I'm sure that's gonna
Thank you
have
so
such a
much.
positive impact on kids in school at the moment.
Thank you
Right.
so much. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Self Improvement Atlas, the personal science insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can also be found on our website at pe.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Aditi Kutty. Thanks for tuning in.